Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, thank you for joining us this afternoon at the case of the nuclear power versus coal and oil.
Mrs. Michelle, please approach the bench. Mr. Hashem, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Now, Michelle, is it true that you support the use and establishment of nuclear energy plants?
Yes, it is true.
Please tell the jury why you feel so strongly about this.
I feel so strongly about nuclear energy because it has so many more advantages to it than coal and oil energy plants do. First off, nuclear energy is renewable, unlike fossil fuels. This renewability of the fuel depends on which reactor is used, but generally the fuel can be recycled. Nuclear power can also be used as an alternative energy source and is much safer for the environment. Reactions that are used in nuclear energy plants do not release carbon dioxide into the atmosphere like fossil fuels do. This means that global warming caused by too much CO2 in the atmosphere would not be occurring. Other advantages to nuclear energy is that the fuel is inexpensive and easily transported, meaning that it would cost less for people buying the energy produced by it as well. The waste created by the nuclear energy plants is very compact and can be recycled.
Thanks, Michelle. I would now like to ask Harrison to approach the bench. Now, Harrison, you are up in support of nuclear energy. What are your reasons for this?
Well, Hashem, the reason I don't support nuclear energy is because it is very dangerous. Not only is the process of using the elements dangerous, but the waste products are radioactive. Nuclear energy is all based upon the fission and fusion of nuclei, which result in the production of radioisotopes, which are the unstable isotopes of an element. The unstable isotopes try to become stable, so they release harmful radiation. Just the fact that the waste gives off harmful radiation that could kill humans is a strong enough argument to be against it. But there is more. To build enough nuclear energy power plants to reduce greenhouse effects would cost trillions of dollars, and a Chernobyl-scale accident would occur every decade. Chernobyl was a nuclear power plant that melted down in Ukraine in the 1980s, and it left hundreds of acres of land uninhabitable and left hundreds either dead or the offspring of survivors deformed. Also, there is no safe way to store nuclear waste. It cannot be simply disposed of because it would release radiation into water supplies and hurt people. The waste has to be contained in cement blocks that just remain on site. This causes some major problems because in the event of a terrorist attack, they would go for the nuclear plants first and end up damaging hundreds of thousands of people. Finally, if people have the power to utilize nuclear power to create energy, this also means that they have the power to create weapons. We already know what kind of power nuclear bombs have based on Hiroshima.
Thanks, Harrison.
What is the lifespan of a nuclear energy plant, and when a plant is decommissioned, what happens to the prior structure?
Which one of you guys would like to answer this question?
I will. Well, a nuclear power plant lasts about 40 years, and when it has to be commissioned, it must be done so strictly by regulations. It must first go through the initial activities that are basically the removal of the fuel rods and a lot of paperwork that include certificates and a license to decommission the plant. Major decommissioning activities are the actual disestablishment of the plant. Finally, the license termination activities are the final paperwork. All these steps must be done according to regulation. These regulations have been set at very high standards and are heavily enforced.
Thank you, Michelle.
Now there's one final question. What is the difference between fusion and fission?
I can answer this question. The difference is that fission is the splitting of an atom into smaller parts. Basically, a stable atom is bombarded with particles until it splits. This releases energy which boils the water in the plant, which creates steam that turns the turbines to create electricity. Fusion is when two atoms are literally shot at each other at extremely high speeds under immense heat. When the two atoms become one large atom, this creates energy and heat which boils the water into steam and turns the turbines, creating electricity. The major obstacle in developing a fusion plant is the fact that it requires so much energy and heat that it is practically impossible for humans to create that much to date.
I thank both sides for their information, and I have decided that based upon the compelling evidence presented to me today, that the production and use of nuclear power plants will not be illegal under my jurisdiction. The cons far outweigh the pros, and I do not want any major catastrophes occurring when I can prevent them from happening. Thank you all for your time. Court is adjourned.